Welcome to United Shades of Gray, Conversations of Race in America on WSGW. Now, here is your host, Kareem Bowen.
Good evening, everyone. This is Kareem. We're here with another edition of United Shades of Gray, Conversations of Race in America. And I've got someone in the studio with me today that I'm excited. We're going to bring him in just a quick second after we get through what we know is what I love to do, where I get to just express my feelings about today's current topics as we talk about what's hot off the press. But before we get to that, I want to talk to my producer. He's in the studio as usual. What's going on, John B?
Hello.
What's happening, John? How things been going for you?
Pretty good. Things have been going fast.
Man, it is already the end of August. 8 months have passed. Kids are back in school. Some of them started a little earlier back in school. And this year's already, it was funny because what's funny about this is I was cleaning up my house and putting things around and actually putting things away that have been kind of sitting out since I had some time off. And I came across my Christmas tree and the boxes of Christmas decorations, which had been sitting in between the living room and the kitchen for, since Christmas, since the ending of January. And I finally took them downstairs. What was this? 3-4 weeks ago. And I was talking with my mom. She's like, you should have left those boxes upstairs. You're closer to putting them back up than you are taking them down.
That's what I was going to say.
Man,
you just left them there.
Time has just flown completely by. Good afternoon to those of you who are listening to us in our social media stream. Stacey Crosby, you are the first one that is here. And for those of you who are going to be listening to us when this airs on Sunday, those of you here at WSGW 100.5 FM and 790 AM, and then also those who are in our Chicago market at WJOL in Joliet, Illinois. We want to say thank you guys for your continual listenership. We are getting the signs that you guys are actually tuning in. Someone wants to hear what we got to say, John.
Awesome.
Thank you for that. Awesome.
Very insightful
One word
commentary.
But let's talk about what's hot off the press, and then we'll get into our conversation today. We have in the studio with us the man, the myth, the legend. He is a Saginaw native, but he is really a party and a person that the world recognizes, and that is none other than actor, entertainer, and now community activist Dwayne Adway. We're going to bring him in just a short second, and you guys are going to be like, oh, he's that guy. And I want to talk to him about that just a little bit as we talk about how he is moving and transitioning from Hollywood to he really wants to make an impact. And I love when people use their celebrity and their experience that they've had as they've traveled the world and bring that to a place and they can make an impact in their homes and the places that created them. But first of all, what's hot off the press in Arkansas? Did you see this, John? Have you looked at this?
You sent me the itinerary for our show and I looked it up, and I looked.
Yeah. So in Arkansas, we got police officers now. They beat a young man by the name of, I think, Randy Worcester, 27 years old. He's actually from Goose Creek, South Carolina. Now, I have a whole interesting story, but I'm not going to tell you right now. Goose Creek, South Carolina is a small town south of Charlotte. It was funny because I was leaving Charlotte, thought I was going to one of the malls and ended up in South Carolina. And I'm a firm proponent that, Black folks really steal even now in South Carolina. You got to be careful. I turned around. But Goose Creek, there's a funny story there. I'm not going to share it today, so you guys have to stick in for another day. But he's from Goose Creek, South Carolina. And so they were beating his brother up. And for the first time, it wasn't a black man. I was like, okay, well, this is not a black man. We see how this situation is handled. It's told that he has a mental illness. He's got some mental health issues. But if you were to see that video, and I'll tell you guys, go out and take a look at it. If you just Google Arkansas police abused 27-year-old, it'll come up. They were not only punching him, 3 or 4 officers. One was actually taking his head. He slammed it on the ground, picked it up and slammed it again. And I was trying to figure out what kind of resistance of arrest was this guy doing. And that's one of the charges that they always get you on, resisting arrest or, assaulting an officer. And I'm not, I'm not a defund the police person. And I'm trying to stay, on that side of the fence. But there are some serious issues that we need to delve into and have some strong conversations. Our police enforcement officers sometimes get drunk with power. And I say that as an individual who is My family is military, paramilitary, police officers. Got some serving now. But the fact of the matter is, when you continually see these things happening, there is a need for some serious change. So now that we got a white man that's been beat up in Arkansas, maybe we'll hear this thing a little bit differently. I'm not trying to offend nobody, but I'm gonna tell you the truth is the truth, right? But so we're gonna keep our eyes on that to see what's going on. We didn't get any of the information. There was no footage of what took place that led up to this, but I will tell you with a certainty that this type of punishment is unethical and it should not be tolerated by any officers. Hey, my man, Dr. Fauci, man, he is now hanging up his pandemic shoes. He's leaving his governmental position with the NIID, which is the national, there's another I in there, Association for Infectious Disease. The other one deals with allergies or something, the National something Allergies and Infectious Disease. So he is going to be gone. He is the man that much of America has come to love to hate because of his suggestions on the pandemic, but he has been integral in keeping so many people alive. And I really just learned to just thank people. I may not like everything that changes the way that we live, John, but if it keeps the majority of us alive, I think that is a very vital part of what we should be looking for. And lastly, this is local, but I've seen this happen all over the communities across the city. We had what was an annual Peace and Community Unity kickball tournament, and this is so funny. 40 years and older, and they went by the middle school teams, and they had kind of like this competition, who's going to win the trophy. And it took place here in the city of Saginaw. There were some contributors that put this thing together. I would say there was probably 1,200 more people that were out there. It was jam-packed at the park. I've seen this take place in LA. I've seen this take place in Baltimore, other places where they bring in and they do kickball tournaments. I want to say for the seniors, because I fall in the 40 and above space. But it was a cool event. And I wanted to talk about this because oftentimes, and we talk about, how do we respond to the violence that happens in the community. And my good friend, Art Lewis, those of you who are listening from WSGW, Art, who does the Art Lewis morning show, we have this conversation, and when we talk about race, he says, okay, Kareem, but what about black on black crime? And we've heard so many white people ask me that question a million times. I've had callers come in and say, what about black on black crime? We're talking about the police officers beating up folks, but what about black on black crime? And so I told them that's none of their business, because that's something that takes place in the village. First of all, black on black crime is a misnomer. It doesn't really exist. You harm or rob or kill people that are in the communities around you. And if you look at the numbers, they say that the most violent people in America are actually middle-aged white men. So I don't deal with that whole fallacy, but I do want to talk about this because this is how communities of color, I'm going to talk about adults, African descendants of slaves. This is how black folks deal with stuff. We have a cookout. We invite you to the cookout. We get together. We have some barbecues, ribs. We play dominoes or bones, as some of y'all would call it. And then we do events or host things like this. So an anti-violence campaign may not be always with posters and signs and marching and things of that nature, but sometimes we have to change the narrative. And the narrative in the headlines is often that, we are afraid of each other. We can't work together. We can't do things together. We don't come together, and this is a perfect example of how the village handles itself. And so it was an amazing opportunity to see so many people. People were flying in back home to Saginaw. As a matter of fact, we got a guest here who was also one of those individuals from Atlanta to LA, from Texas, because they wanted to be a part of this. And it was like a reunion. So the more positive things that we have in our community is one way by which we combat violence. For those of you who are out there that are listening, that often ask yourself, why aren't black people, so passionate about fighting violence in their own community? This is how we do it. We recenter ourselves. We come back to the collective of us, that it takes a village to raise a child. We have fun and we make it happen. All right, so I am now off my soapbook. That's all I want to talk about in terms of what's hot off the press, even though there's a lot of stuff happening. So you guys are going to have to stay tuned because there's a lot that we're going to get into. It is a very charged political season that's happening, and we're going to talk about all of this stuff as we unravel this stuff. But I want to bring to the screen, hello. Those of you who are coming in, we want to say hello to you all. Let's like, tag, and share this conversation. And those of you who are in Illinois, I got a great one coming up for you. America's Big Sister is going to be coming on here. That's none other than Tregear Wade. Not today, but we got her scheduled. She is from Chi-Town, and she's coming. She is the sister of Dwayne Wade. And they're great friends, and she is doing something phenomenal in the Chicago area. So we got something for you guys coming up. But right now, our special guest today, we're going to be talking about from Hollywood to hometown activist, is my man, Dwayne Wade. Dwayne, I want you to say hello.
Dwayne Adway.
Well, I do all of this great build-up, and then I say Dwayne Wade. Beautiful. I was talking about Tregear Wade. Tregear Wade is Dwayne's sister. Chicago, y'all know what I'm talking about. This is my guy, Dwayne Adway.
What's going on?
What's going on, my man? Can I get a pound?
Yeah, you got it.
All right, you forgive me today, right?
I forgive you.
All right.
Your head, not your heart.
But Dwayne, it is so glad. It's so good to have you here today. I'm so glad that you're part of United Shades of Gray, Conversations of Race in America, because I think that it's important for America to know that they always ask, what about the athletes? What about the entertainers? That you guys care and you come home and you do things that are at home. What brings you home? Talk about that. What brings you home? Because he's a Saginaw, Michigan native. What brings you back to the city?
Well, actually, my mom still has a home here. So I bring her home every year just so she can sit in her nest for a little bit and, put her feet to the ground on our hometown. And I'll get a chance to, kind of get around the people I grew up with.
Because you took mom away from the hood.
Let me give you the backstory. Right? I got to give you the backstory.
Okay, give us a backstory.
So 2015, my mom had a stroke. So I came to Saginaw to see about her and then see her through rehab. And then I made the decision to take her back to California with me so she can get better care.
I remember when you made that decision. I remember you taking a picture, talking about coming to get my mom, bringing her to LA. But you this is home for you. I want to back up just a little bit because I want to talk about really you are a Saginaw person. Where'd you go to school? Like talk about where you went.
I went to Saginaw High. We talked about kickball, right?
Right.
I'm a Weber Wildcat. And then I went to Weber Elementary and Weber Junior High, and then I went to Saginaw High. I'm a sophomore, junior year, and half of my senior year, and then I transferred over to Buena Vista my last semester.
All right. So those of you, and I need you to look into that camera right there. All right. I need to make sure that you guys get that headshot because he is he's probably most known for your portrayal. I know for me it's the iconic moment of Dennis Rodman.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so this was before Dennis Rodman was too crazy.
This was,
but you played it all.
This was at the top of his career, athletic career.
At the top of his career.
He was at the peak of his career,
the apex.
And it was go ahead.
No, go ahead.
And it was a great opportunity. It's just like everybody has a thing that introduces them into the industry, and that happened to be my vehicle that started my career happening.
Okay, from Saginaw, Michigan. How do you go from Saginaw, Michigan? Was this acting bug something that hit you that you always had in you, or how did this even come about? Because you're about 6'4", 6'4", bald head. You got them funny colored eyes. Y'all know that the girls go crazy on. So I would imagine that you look more like a runway model than but I guess y'all cross over.
Well, yeah.
So how did you end up on the silver screen, if you would?
It would happen by accident because when I finished, I went to college on basketball scholarship at FAM, and after FAMU, Florida A&M.
There you go. Because some of us not, John is probably what's FAM.
He's like, what's that? So I went to Florida A&M, and then after I finished at Florida A&M, I went to Atlanta. And, try to keep that basketball career going, trying to get a tryout for the Hawks. Didn't happen. You know what I'm saying?
Balling.
And then I was like, what am I going to do in my life? I don't know. So I went back to Georgia State to work on my master's. And then there I was able to take a acting class as an elective, And I was just doing it for kicks and giggles, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
For fun. And then I met a wonderful lady, theater guru, named Charlene Holmes.
Okay.
And she said to me one day in class, because I was like, I wasn't taking it really seriously. She said, if you take it seriously, I think you could be a decent actor. I said, huh? You can't tell somebody from Saginaw
you
that.
Decent?
Decent.
Right.
I said, I'm going to be the best actor,
Right.
So she challenged me, and then I was like, yeah, okay. So she put me in contact with Kenny Leon, who was working as the artistic director at the Alliance Theater in Atlanta.
Okay.
So I did a couple of plays over there, and I got beat by the bug. And then I got an opportunity to work on a film called Midnight Edition, and I worked on the film with Will Patton out of New York.
Okay.
Will Patton, he's a character actor. Everybody knows him, knows his face. And then I was like, hey, well, maybe I need to take this seriously. So I decided that I was either going to move to New York or go to LA. And then they say that if I go to New York, I still got to come to LA if I wanted to do film and television.
You got to go to LA, right? Yeah.
So I packed my bags, came back to Saginaw, told my mom I'm going to California to be an actor. And she said, what, boy, you lost your rabbit mind? And then I said, Mom, hey, I'm going. And then she's like, she loves me, support me. And I had my cousin out there, Curtis Webb, rest in peace, just passed away. So he
So wait a minute, you're related to the Webb family that's here.
That's my first cousin.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you're out there with Curtis.
Yeah, so Curtis let me come stay with him, and then I got out there and got on my feet and started doing basketball commercials. Fast forward 2 years in, I had an audition for this Dennis Rodman movie, and I was like, I can't play Dennis Rodman. I don't look like Dennis Rodman. And then they told me, the casting director told me, she think I can play the role, and I was like, okay. So they brought me back 6 times. Each time I became more confident that I can play the role, and it happened.
Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about this because if there's anybody who knows how good Dennis Rodman was, it is the Chicago fans.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
If nobody knew that Dennis Rodman was a beast,
right,
it was Michael Jordan and those Chicago Bulls fans, right?
Chicago Bulls.
Okay, so how was it when you were selected? Tell me where you were and what was happening when you were selected to be Dennis Rodman, because I want to talk about this stuff, because I want to talk about how we're going to transition from Hollywood to hometown. But what was it like? How did they call you? Like, hey, you got the part.
Well, it was a long process because I auditioned in LA, and then they called me back, and then I met the network, which was ABC at the time, and then that was my 3rd audition, and then they flew me to New York to meet the director, who was a director on one of those Dick Wolf shows. And he was in New York, so they flew me out to New York, and then I flew back to LA. It was an overnight trip,
right? So
by the time I landed back in LA, I found out I got the part.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you played Dennis Rodman, and I think it was probably. I mean, I remember when it was released, the build up to the show, because we had seen by now, we had heard about the things that Dennis was doing. He was a phenomenal piece. I think he's probably one of the most underrated athletes to ever play the game. I think he was a key contributor and one of the reasons why the city of Detroit has the ability to call. I've never been a Pistons fan, but the city of Detroit has the ability to say that they have championships. Yeah. So after you play this role, iconic role of Dennis Rodman, one of the most memorable parts of that story was when he was in the car and considering just ending it all.
Yeah.
So after you play this role, what is the response to home? What is the response to family and friends and the entire industry to this?
Oh, that's loaded. Well, I've always gotten love for my body of work, but people recognize me a lot more from the Dennis Rodman story. With home, it's always been love. The industry. I got a lot of more opportunities, a lot of doors open for me.
Yes.
But I also realized the politics of Hollywood and how that works.
Politics, yes.
And then I also realized the politics of Saginaw and how that works.
Right.
And what it is, you know, like a lot of opportunities, a lot of doors swung open for me in Hollywood. But I learned that when you are the lead and star of a movie, it's designed for only a few number of people to be in that mix at one time. So they're only going to recycle like 2 or 3 actors at one time,
Right,
as leading men. And, you know, you have your reign for like 5 to 7 years, and then they'll be on to the next.
wow.
You know,
Wow, you're not the hot new thing. We want what's hot and new. Okay,
exactly. And that's how Hollywood works.
right.
You know, Hollywood works that way because everybody has their moment, and you know, then they get on to someone else. When I was introduced in the industry, I was told that it works like this: who's that actor? Give me that actor. Give me a younger version of that actor. Remember that actor? Give me that actor.
All right, wow.
You know,
yeah.
And that kind of sums up one's career in Hollywood.
I'll tell you my favorite show that you were a part of was Into the Blue.
Oh yeah.
And you played
that
with
film. It's a film.
Yeah. And you played with Paul Walker.
Yeah.
Who is deceased, God rest his soul.
Yeah.
But I loved the role. I love your role in the movie. I love the movie itself. And so how was it to play with someone who had become so iconic, such as Paul Walker, later with all of the racing movies? What was the name of it?
Fast and Furious.
Fast and Furious. Thank you, I forgot about him.
Paul is a down-to-earth guy. You know, he wasn't even a part of the Hollywood scene. He didn't even live in Hollywood. He lived in Santa Barbara. You know, he grew up in Glendale, but he lived in Santa Barbara. But, you know, when we were shooting the movie, I mean, like, you know, you work with actors sometimes that have a super ego that makes it really difficult for you to have a good working environment, so to speak. But on Into the Blue, working with him and working with Scott Conn and Josh Brolin, those were my dudes, man.
Man, you just named some iconic individuals in there. Josh Brolin. I'm feeling like, wow, this is so. So I think that's cool. America will remember you because you know those movies were so key. I think to the essence of what Hollywood brings. But there's one movie that I'm sure everywhere you go, people bring up.
Oh, go! I'll let you say it.
Soul Plane. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely,
so
absolutely,
when they see you and they think about, you know, because let's see, Snoop Dogg was on Soul Plane.
Oh, everybody was in.
Everybody
Soul
and their
Plane.
mama was on Soul Plane. So this was one of those shows that was filled with actors, and you happen to be the face of. I don't know if you're the male pinup guy.
Yeah.
And the lady who I can't. What's the actress?
Missy Powell.
Missy Powell. Those of you who've ever seen Bring It Down the House, she's the one that went toe to toe with Queen Latifah in the bathroom fight. She falls in love when she sees his pinup picture and how endowed he was as a pinup,
right?
And she leaves her
husband Tom Arnold. I jump in Tom Arnold's seat while he goes to the bathroom, and she's recognizing me on the cover of the magazine.
You know what they say: once you go black, you never go back. Exactly. She was hit. She was smitten for life, and you know, she became your next conquest.
Yeah,
I thought that was so funny. What was it like being in that movie with so many celebrities?
Well, you know, I was actually shooting another film at the time called First Daughter with Katie Holmes.
Yes.
So they let me with the director was Forrest Whitaker. So I didn't think I was going to be able to do Soul Plane. And then I had to ask Forrest Whitaker if I can have that day off and go shoot Soul Plane, and he did.
Well, that was an iconic moment for you. I still go back. I got it on DVD, then I got it on Blu-ray. I don't have it on VHS. No VHS at the crib, but it is one of those movies that I pull out and I go back and watch because it was absolutely amazing. Was it not Adele Givens, but some more was in there. It was just
D.L. Hughley, Method Man,
the entire crew. Yeah. It was a great thing. So you have been in Hollywood and around some of Hollywood's most some of Hollywood's most iconic actors. But we're gonna come back and we're gonna talk about your transition from a Hollywood star to hometown activist. We'll be back with more United Shades of Grey when we come right back.
You're listening to United Shades of Grey on WSGW.
This is Kareem back. We're back with more of United Shades of Grey. We're here with my guy, Dwayne Adway. Dwayne, what's good, man? All right, so Dwayne is here, and we've been talking a little bit about his Hollywood career and what he has been doing in his time, 30 years, oh my goodness, in the game. I was looking, is it IMDb?
IMDb, yes.
Okay, I was looking at your IMDb because I always want to say IMBD, but it's IMDb. I was looking at it. You have had the ability to really sustain yourself in your time in Hollywood.
Absolutely.
And, go ahead.
And the reason why is because, you know, I was mentored by some really good actors who have been around Hollywood for a long time. Dorian Harrowitz.
Yes.
From the original Sparkle.
Yes.
And this guy named Denzel Washington, who you guys may not know yet.
A little bit. We know
Yeah,
Denzel just a little bit.
I used to play ball with him when I got to Hollywood, at the Hollywood Y. And, you know, I was the human sponge trying to absorb all the information they would give me. And number one, you know, Denzel told me as a young actor, he said, just stick around. You'll eventually get your break. And he said, the first 3 projects you choose to be a part of is going to be an indicator to what kind of career you have.
Wow.
So what I learned is I after doing Rodman, I wanted to do something more mainstream.
Okay.
You know, and then I can always come back and visit urban.
Right.
You know, so my career has been up the middle, so to speak, because I've done, you know, white movies, I've done urban movies, I've done white TV shows, and I've done also like black sitcoms.
You have been all over.
You know?
I mean, you have played with, I mean, Katie Holmes. We were just talking about that before the break. You know, Paul Walker, Katie. You have had the entire run of the gamut in terms of what you're doing. So you're doing that, and you were talking about empowering yourself by starting your next phase. You transition to really making an impact to younger folks and to the community. So tell me a little bit about your particular moves you've been making in terms of your production and all that other stuff.
I just started my own production company called Amethyst Films LLC. That was birthed out of me just really being you know, fed up with the scripts I was getting and the stories that were being told. And I want to just change the narrative and really find those projects that I'm real passionate about, that's life-changing, that's going to make an impact on the world, that coincides with my philosophy, you know. And so I went out and find my own financing, and I started my own company. So now I'm going to direct and produce my first short film called Hiding From Me, probably next year or something.
So you guys get ready. You're talking about Tyler Perry, and how do you? We got another Tyler Perry in the making here. So you get your scripts and you get everything together, and you get into the. Because eventually, with your own production, you'll need. If you're not writing it, you'll need other scripts and things that are going on.
Well, it's funny you say it, because since I've been home, you know, a lot of people have been approaching me about, you know, being fascinated about Hollywood and whatnot, and they have stories to tell, you know, because, you know, as a producer, you're looking for that next story.
Absolutely.
And you know, I'm just trying to, you know, kind of navigate the stories coming my way, because even just a young man the other day grew up in this area in Saginaw, grew up in the streets of Saginaw, the streets of Saginaw, come to me and said, "Oh, I just got out of prison. You need to tell my story."
Man.
And I'm like, "Okay, what's your story?" And he's like,
"Hold on, bro."
He's like, "Yo, I grew up in the cliques." And the clique, and
Cliques,
like,
Crazy Eights. That's what, the 80s.
That's the 80s, right? Yeah. So I'm like, well, to tell your story is to tell the story of Saginaw and the evolution of Saginaw and how it transformed through the years from the 80s to the 2000s. You know, so it just can't be your story. If you're going to tell the story, you got to talk about how the automobile industry went down, and it's a plant closing. You have to talk about the crack cocaine in the streets, and then you had to talk about environmental racism.
Yeah,
that is the thing that led me into the activism part of it, because I was able to come back and see my community change. And I'm saying, okay, well, why isn't there quality grocery stores on the east side? what's going on.
Yeah.
You know.
And I think that what you're saying is so important. And the reason I talked about Tregill Wade earlier is because she now lives in Texas. D Wade has moved to LA. Y'all see him and Gabrielle doing big things in LA. And his mom, who was a pastor on I can't remember the name of the street, the main street that kind of goes from one end of Chicago to the other end. I was gonna say Chalmers, but that's Detroit, Michigan. But anyways, she is now left Chicago and she's in LA living with him. But she comes back and she does her programming at home because she recognizes the disadvantage that and the hole that was left by similar circumstances.
Right.
As you begin to look at coming back to your hometown, what are the types of things that you want to do as you re-envision what you might be able to make an impact in your community?
Well, the first thing I try to do is collaborate with Pit and Balcony to to do a workshop with them about how to break into the industry for people who are interested in the industry. And then I've tried to collaborate and use my platform to like, for instance, you and I talking today, just kind of bring light to some things that I feel are disparities in the city, and just trying to change the narrative to raise the morale in the city. Because even, for instance, the kickball thing, having that happen and having that be so successful and having so many people involved, but yet not seeing WNEM out there reporting on it in a positive way, or having Saginaw News do a piece unless something negative jumps off.
Well, I mentioned this to you before. People don't recognize, and I think that there is a thing. They'll be the first ones there when something negative happens. We don't see but I'm learning that there's a way to engage media to really get them on site. And there's some things that you kind of have to do, to operate in that space to make them respond. But what I'm thinking about, and I'm going to retract for just real quick before we get into this. I'm thinking about the first time that we actually met.
Yeah.
And it was not in Saginaw. I was actually doing an event, the Man Up Forum in Los Angeles, California, at what's the name of the church?
It was at West Angeles.
West Angeles, the huge church. Bishop Blake, who was the leader of the Church of God in Christ, and we were doing the Man Up Forum. And I had you come in. I was excited because I was like, "Oh, this dude is from Saginaw. Hey, we got to have him come in and be a part of this panel." And you caught that. I don't know if did you understand what was going on that day with Jason not being present?
No, I didn't.
Okay. This event is called the Jason Richardson Man Up Forum, right? This particular one. And we're in LA during All-Star Weekend. And I get a call 8:00 on Friday night. It's supposed to take 9 a.m. Saturday morning that Jason and his family are stuck in Puerto Rico, could not get out of Puerto Rico. And so I'm sitting there, I'm like freaking out. So that is why, if you remember when Chris, so I tried to figure out who could I get to host this that would kind of mirage the effect that he's not there. So I'm like, oh my goodness, let me see where Chris Tucker is. Chris Tucker happened to be in town for All-Star Weekend. Exactly. So that's why he clowned me the way he did when he first got the mic, because he's like, Kareem told me Jason in the shower, He came through like a pro. And I just thought about that's how we initially met.
Right.
And it was so crazy, man.
But it's funny because doing that with you in LA, it made me realize that we need to do more of that in our hometown.
Absolutely.
Because it's easy to do things outside of the city, use your platform to do things outside of the city. I go to St. Louis, or I can go to Cincinnati and talk advocacy and stuff like that. But to come back home and do it, it just resonates different. It's just different.
Hey, that is why we're having this conversation, because with you desirous of spending more time here, there are things that I've done in LA to DC that hometown has never seen me operate in that space.
Absolutely.
You saw that particularly. It was probably 600-800 kids that were there. It was, all of the community. Walmart was donating $50,000 for the communities that were there. So to be able to bring that opportunity and that know-how and working with the individuals like yourself and the other people that were there. I think LaToya Luckett was also there from Destiny Child. It was just
she was there.
Yeah, she was there. She was there.
Yeah.
And from Bernie Mac's show, Winbush,
Camille
Winbush. So it was, it was a star-studded affair. It was great.
It was great.
But to be able to do those things at home,
Right.
I think it's so important. So you're saying that you're going to partner with Pitney Balcony. I like the
You know,
idea of
well,
partnering
the whole
with Pitney
thing
Balcony.
is, I've been trying to do that for years, Kareem. But it's just like, they have my resume. They know who I am, and
we got to create our own platforms.
Well, that's
There you
where
go.
I'm going. So I learned that why wait on a hidden balcony instead of jumping it off myself.
Dwayne Adway balcony. Yeah, how you on? Go ahead.
Exactly, and then bring in people and disseminate the information myself.
Absolutely.
I don't need no platform, other person's platform to do it. And that's what I learned. And I was like, okay, well, I can do that by talking to the pillars in the community, like
absolutely,
or someone in the church. But what it is I just find that Saginaw has always been a city that's divided by color.
Absolutely.
And this is keeping it 100
for a long time.
Because even when I did the Rodman piece, and Saginaw News came in and they did a piece on me. They came up to Toronto while we were shooting.
Okay.
And Sue White did a piece on me, and I said, Sue, I said, why is it that you guys have a hard time doing coverage over people who come out of Saginaw successful, as opposed to people who commit crime in the community?
They love the Charles Rogers story.
Yeah, you like the
fall from grace.
It's fall from grace stories, right? And it just kind of like continues that narrative. And it's continued to this day.
Well,
and I find it hard for, it's hard to get that narrative to change when you don't have the people willing to talk about it in the media here locally.
Well, the interesting thing is, if you talk to, and this is what you're saying is true across the board, unless you are coming in as the LeBron James in your industry, you find it hard to get the type of support from community efforts and from media that you really should, right? So I was talking with a friend who is from Africa, and when they first came here, they didn't want anything to do with Black America, because what had been portrayed through media efforts was that we were criminals, that we were murderous, that we were all of the negative stereotypes that you see on TV. Those were the most predominant things that not only are in our the United States media, but that's what we push across the ponds,
right.
Across, to Africa and other places. So when people come here, they have their own understanding of who we are. And it's really because of how media has portrayed us. So when you talk about coming in and doing a partnership, I say, come in, find your space, and you have the know-how, the talent. You've got a resume that's out of this world. I say, why not build your space yourself? And then once you begin to create a buzz, and this is what Tyler Perry did, he says, hey, you don't want me to be a part of your party. You're slow at giving me an invitation. I'm going to create my own platform.
Well, the only reason why I was going to collaborate because I don't live here.
Absolutely.
And it's easier to
we
do.
Exactly. John lives here. I'll have him doing all kind of stuff.
We have John as the producer. So it was better. It's better for me to be able to work with someone who lives here to put that into play. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I'm kind of a full-time resident of Saginaw these days. So I would
love. You're a big deal around here,
man. I would love to, because I know you. I've seen you in spaces outside of this place. I would love to be a part of what you're trying to do. We do have a performing arts school, as many cities have. It is not necessary. Not so much. Go ahead.
It's the thing, because you're tapping into something. Because I also did that with SASA through John Pugh.
Yeah.
So I went over to SASA. John Pugh set it up for me to go to SASA and talk to the kids about acting on the acting track and stuff like that. But the principal there, I don't want to throw nobody on the bus.
Man, come on. Let's just throw everybody.
Drum roll. Well, there was certain individuals.
Yes.
We'll say, that didn't want me to talk to the whole school, but only a small sector of students, which I found to be, not as effective as I wanted to be.
Well, you know what? And sometimes you're in the wrong place and you're addressing the wrong audience. And I say you have to go where you are welcome, because I know there's a couple other schools that would welcome you coming in and what you're trying to do in the community. when you talk about activism, what does your activism? Because what we do, what I'm doing now on the radio, this is my role. My role is to communicate the things that are happening, the inconsistencies, the omissions. I didn't think I would be in this space, but this is my role in terms of activism. How does activism from your perspective look for you?
Well, it came out of me having to deal with the challenges of advocating for my mother.
Okay.
And I learned, I was like, man, there's so many disparities.
Absolutely.
That comes along with that. That's why I moved to California. And what I realized is just that there's a lot of, like I say, what came to my attention was the environmental racism that goes on with the devastation of the East Side, where you don't have quality food. They closed most of the Krogers.
Absolutely.
And they want to create this narrative that all the Krogers they were stealing. But that wasn't really the kicker. You know what I'm saying? It's just like the real kicker was, okay, now we're going to take all the Kroger's over onto the west side.
Yeah.
Everything you had to do had to come to the west side. I'm just keeping it 100.
No, this is
And then every time I come home, I'm like, okay, well, down. This is closed. This is
ain't
closed.
no midnight runs to the grocery store. Yeah,
right. And I just started seeing the morale fall low in the city. You know what I'm saying? And it was about everybody was like trying to figure out how to get out instead of staying in.
Man, and it requires, and I'm glad you said that, because it requires for us, everybody can't leave.
Right.
And so, and you can't throw up your towel, throw up your hands and throw in the towel. So it requires a certain amount of us to be here and to fight. And those who are, not necessarily in the city, to have connections in that city so that they can continue the work that's taking place. We just had a situation just yesterday that we were able to kind of put on hold the city planning master plan. Awesome. So that the community could come to the table. And this is where I share my voice. I think that you could really, I have some amazing ideas now that I know that this is where you want to, some things you want to do. But in terms of showing racism, showing disparity through theater or through acting, I think is powerful. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. And I could see you being an asset to that demonstration. And there's something called demonstration art where they actually do just that.
Well, it's funny you say it because you're a pastor, right?
Yep.
So it came to a point in my life where I realized that God gives you a platform, and He allows you to use that platform for selfish reasons, and then you end up using it for selfless reasons.
You preaching,
right? And I was like, here it is. I'm in Hollywood for years, success, money, whole nine, and I wasn't happy. But that happens because God puts you in a place where He makes you realize that it's not about the allegory of what He's blessed you with,
right?
And He moves you into a place of realizing that you do have a platform.
There's a platform.
That you do have a voice, and start using it and using it for his purpose, and that's making changes, talking about issues and being able to advocate for those who don't have a voice in the platform. Because being an entertainer comes with a tremendous amount of responsibility.
Wherever, my grandmother said to me when I first started Facebook, and this was in 2008, and I was posting stuff, and I'm a clown at heart, so I'm laughing and joking, and I got like 14,000 people that are a part of my social media, one of my social media groups. And my grandma was like, listen, stop all that, what she call it, joking and jesting. Yeah, stop all that joking and jesting, And she was like, when God gives you a platform, you have to have something to say.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you're saying. So now that platform has transitioned to 2 radio shows, a pastoral platform, and other things that we're doing. So how do you want to use your platform, and how can people who are interested in connecting with Dwayne Adway in your new production studio, how do they connect with you, and how can they get involved?
Well, I got some people involved. A few people I got right now actually working on scripts.
Okay.
And they
I got a couple scripts if you want a script.
They approached me. So here's the thing I came up with since I've been here. So every time I come home, people say, "Oh, I want to be an actor. I'm this and the third." And then I say, "Okay, write a piece. Tell me your story." And then they say, "How do I do that?" And
That's
I'm the
good.
guy. I said, "No, I'm not going to tell you." I said, "Just start writing it. Write it and send it to me. Email it to me, and I'll come in and shoot. I'll shoot a 5 minute short film, and what I'm going to do is put a combination of about 10 shorts that people here locally have written and shoot it, and then I'm going to do a little festival."
Man, a film festival. My
Yeah,
guy.
it's going to be like a 1 day festival at probably Court Theater or somewhere like that, where people can come out and see their work from the pad to the camera. And who knows? We may create out of Saginaw the next Tyler Perry. We may create the next the Angela Bassett or somebody like that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's how talent is found.
There's a couple young guys who I think do some amazing work when it comes to cinematography, and I'm going to throw their names out to you.
Okay.
One of their names is Tank Richardson. Actually, is the nephew of Jason Richardson.
Okay.
Another one, Brandon Webb. I call him B Fox. He's the guy.
Fox.
And then also Don. His dad is bringing in the Andrew Johnson in a little bit. Don Bivens Jr. Both of those guys do great. All three of them do great jobs of capturing imagery and telling stories through the media that they create. So I think that would be great. So how can people get a hold of you as you endeavor on this plan to really to make an impact in this community?
Well, I love social media,
Okay.
but I may open it back up now that I have this idea, so they can reach out to me through social media, Facebook, Instagram, or they can email me at daentertainment@yahoo.com. Their ideas, their concepts, their scripts, and like I said, I'm going to pick 10 to come in and shoot, and then I'm going to have a film festival, 1 day film festival where I screen all of them.
Wow.
And,
so are you gonna bring in like celebrity guests like myself? No, I'm just joking.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely. Kareem Bowen's going to be the moderator.
There you go.
He's going to be the moderator.
It's gonna be packed out, y'all.
Yeah,
You got to get ready for the crowds.
But it's just like a local thing. It's just like I'm still working on what to do with the winner.
Right.
Maybe the winner may be brought to Hollywood and introduced to an agent or whatever. I got to talk to my people when I get back.
Right.
But so yeah, it's just to kind of ignite the change the morale around here.
Absolutely.
And ignite the fact that the artistry is in all of us.
Absolutely.
It's just a matter of us having a platform or having the opportunity to showcase that.
All right. Time flies by so quick. We got a minute and a half. I'm going to give half of that time to you. What is it that you would like to say in your closing words to those listeners out there?
I would just like to say we got to get the morale up, keep the morale up. It's not about, trying to lead a city to go to other cities. It's about trying to find the opportunity to make change locally, get involved in the local politics, become a part of what's going on in the city. Just keep your ears to the ground, or what, like you said last night, about what's going on in the city. Show up at those meetings, and just become a part of the change.
Give that email address one more time.
daentertainment@yahoo.com.
daentertainment@yahoo.com. I am so glad to have with me today my special guest for this past hour, Dwayne Adway. He's a brother in arms doing great things. He is transitioning from Hollywood to hometown to make an impact. I want to thank those of you who are listening continually, both here and in Chicagoland. Thank you for listening and being a part of this continual conversation as we endeavor to bring you these types of things, talking about how you have the ability to make a change in the places and spaces that you live. And as we always say here, United Shades of Gray, we long for a day that is no longer red states and blue states, no longer black or white, but we're truly United Shades of Gray. We tune in next week where we have more conversations. Thank you all. Grace and peace.